Thanks, everyone. So I'm here to talk about Twitter from the perspective of someone who was a former journalist. I was a reporter for 6 years for the New York Daily News. So I think in terms of how can you present your news on Twitter, and also how can you just present yourself in order to get a job, similar to what Professor Brown was talking about with LinkedIn. So what are some of the basic tactics? Now, I kind of take a step back from some of the analytical things that we were discussing to look at just a lot of students of mine who aren't even on Twitter and they're not using it at all, or they're only using it for personal gain. They're doing it to communicate with friends, but they're not thinking about other people who might be able to find this. So I include in here some examples of students of mine and colleagues in the comm department who I think are using Twitter effectively. So you may see yourself in some of these slides. Gulp. But no, you're all doing positive things, and so I'm showing it as some examples of what you can do right. So, Professor Brown, you made the cut. And Professor Brown obviously does a lot of things well by using each one to show like a different thing that you can do. So the first thing is a lot of people protect their updates, protect their Twitter profile. They have a little lock on there, so you can't see their tweets. I really don't see the point in that. The whole point of Twitter should be connecting with other people. When you have the lock on there, it almost makes it suspicious, like, what do you have to hide, right? The answer should be you have nothing to hide. You're on Twitter because you want to build an audience. You want to promote yourself, reach out to new people. So you're just adding one deterrent, one obstacle for people to getting to know about you. So obviously, Professor Brown does not have a locked profile. One of the other things that she does very well is she caters to her audience. If you go through her Twitter profile, and as I'm putting people up there, I encourage you, now you know their Twitter handle, go on your phone, follow them, see what they're doing. But she knows that she's catering a lot to students. So she has job listings, internships, information that is useful to that base. That's one of the things you should always be considering as you are going through your Twitter feed. So Edgar, who I think is in here too, Edgar Enriquez, use your real name in your Twitter handle. Right? Some of this may seem basic, but I've seen a lot of students who are not doing this. So if you can, use your real name. Do not make up some sort of funny name based on your pets, your athletes, your likes, whatever it is that people come up with, that it's hard to find you on Twitter. I try to tweet at students a lot, just to let them know about what's going to happen in class, or give them a shout out because they did a good job, and I can't even find them because I start typing in their name after the @ sign, it comes up with something completely different. They're following me on Twitter, but it's still difficult to get a hold of them. So what Edgar did there is great. Now, I'm assuming that there are other Edgar Enriquez's out there on Twitter, so he figures, well, I'll put in my middle initial. If I put in the S, then that's a profile that I can get a hold of. Other things that you can do is, and you'll see this with some of the other people who are going to be up here, using, like Professor Brown, using PR after her name. Use JOU for journalism, numbers, underscores, other sorts of, don't get too creative and too many numbers and underscores and all that stuff, but one or two here or there makes you a lot easier to find. So as close as possible to your real name. This is a student of mine who's not here today, but Danny Frost. Using a real picture of yourself seems basic. But a lot of people, I don't know if they're camera shy or what it is, so they end up like just taking a photo of something that they like, an event that they went to, someplace on campus. You want to build your brand through this. Your name is your brand, whether you're in journalism, PR, just as a student. So when you're doing this, use a nice photograph of yourself where you are smiling. I like that Danny has a photo up there where he's in a suit because he works for the campus TV station, so he was doing that. So something where you are smiling, grinning is always good, and if you're a little bit dressed up. And studies have shown that people remember your photo even more than your Twitter handle, which you can change your Twitter handle at any point, right? But why would you change your handle or your photo? Try to keep it consistent for at least a few years usually. Now we have someone else who is in the audience, Alyssa. So Alyssa Lopez makes the cut. And it's what I like about her is including some sort of like funky part of your personality. Not too funky, of course, but something a little bit funny. So if you look at hers, it says nachos enthusiast, aspiring hula hooper. You'll get there one day, Alyssa. We're all rooting for you. Aspiring. I also adult sometimes as a student PR association president, Pioneer Times editor-in-chief. Using some emoticons in there, emojis, that kind of stuff, like smiley face, whatever, I think it shows that she's an approachable person. So I'm more likely to follow her and, think like she's not just some rigid PR person, journalist, she's willing to kind of, expand. So if you want to look at your hobbies, sometimes people have like a quick quote from their favorite movie or whatever it is that kind of makes you seem like a real person. Alex is not here right now. He was here earlier, but he's in my journalism class. Using a custom background. Now, I'll show you a better example of a custom background later on. I just kind of wanted to work Alex in here, and give him a shout out. You have the ability, in addition to your headshot, to have this big custom background in the back. For those of you who are working for a student organization, take a photograph of like the Pioneer Times, the student newspaper. Use the masthead as the background. If you have a presentation that you did here at the poster session, maybe that could be a photo. Something from the campus, something you want to associate with. So where you work, where you're from originally, or maybe an example of your writing itself as that background. We have Hannah, who's in the back over there. So what Hannah does really well, and a lot of these people are, mixing all of this, but I'm just using each of them as one example. So she says they're assistant music director at Brave New Radio. She includes mentioning, with the @ sign, the name of the organization that she works for. So if I'm like, what's Brave New Radio? I can just hover my cursor over that. I don't even have to click on it, and it will pop up, oh, it's the radio station at William Patterson University. I very quickly get an idea of where she's coming from. So she mentions also the organization that she interns at. It's very common to use these little dashes in between, a hyphen, whatever it is, in between these elements of your profile. And at the bottom there, she includes a URL, gobrave.org. So if I want to know more about the radio station, right, I can go right there. If you can, include your personal website. If you have whatever your name is, .com, hannahgrieve.com, that would be great too. But this is perfectly fine for those of you who may not have a personal website yet. So your primary organization. Rolando, who you heard from earlier today in the audience. So what he does very well, often students will ask me, who should you follow on Twitter? So follow the people who you want to reach out to. Rolando is very good at identifying different spheres of influence that he wants to get in. Now, one sphere is he works for a TV station in New York City, so he wants to follow other TV executives, producers, news assistants, and so forth. He works with digital, so he wants to follow like social media people and all of that. But he also, and this goes into like your hobby or personality, is really into history, local history, TV history. So he follows people in all of those different areas, and then every now and then he'll give them a shout out. Then that means that they're more likely to retweet him, to form some sort of a relationship on Twitter, which then, you oftentimes will meet someone for the first time on Twitter, and then you end up actually getting together, and it's a great networking tool. So he's very good at doing that. Thinking about the geographic sphere, where do you live, where do you work, following other people. Like when I first moved to Wayne last year, follow a bunch of people from Wayne. It's a way to meet other people in my area, and saving the best for last. So what else? Just like do an overview of other things that you can do. Well, pin tweets at the top of your profile, right? So you pick a tweet that has something that is important for you. Maybe. And I'll show you an example of what I pinned, but the William Patterson PR department helped me get a TV interview for a TV station out on Long Island. So that's my pinned tweet, is me, the link to the TV interview, some photos from that, so it showcases myself. Connect your other social media platforms to Twitter. So if you can connect Instagram, maybe not Facebook if that's going to be more of your personal thing, but I think it's nice to have Instagram, and that's a way to grow instead of you have like all of your separate social media. Using Periscope, which a lot of people are doing now to take live video with their Twitter account. So you can go live from like this event right now. You can say, I'm at the social media summit, and you're broadcasting live video out to the world. So that's kind of neat. Tweet consistently. Don't have these tweet storms where it's just 1 hour today, I'm going to do all of this. Try to do it throughout the week and throughout the day. It seems to be the core times to tweet are between like 10 and noon, because that's before people go to lunch, but after they've already come in for the day. And then maybe again between like 3 and 4, because it's when people are getting a little bit tired at the end of the day, so they go to social media, at work, but before they've left. And of course, as the other speakers have already said, be careful about what you're tweeting. So don't get too political. I hate this candidate or this person. We just heard about not mentioning maybe your breakups or things that are going on in your personal life, and in general steering away from controversial themes. Just to give you a better idea there of the custom background. So like my custom background, once I started at William Patterson, I put that sign that's on Ratzer Road or whatever it is with the WPU social media. I have the pinned tweet there at the top, so whatever it is that you want to show off, and so forth. And so I know I'm running out of time. Thank you very much. That's all the social media. So I hope you follow all of the other students who have been and faculty have been mentioned today. Thank you.